I think there's so many people who are outside of dance music who have their, their job and their life, and they do a lot of things because they think, oh, this is what you're supposed to be doing at a certain age, or they're like, I'm out of college, I shouldn't do this, or I'm too old, and who like have certain preconceived notions of electronic dance music, and who are lacking a hobby or lacking a purpose in their life. And like, I just want to say, like, we're here for you. Like,
hey, what's good, my friends? Thanks so much for checking out the Open Decks podcast. You just got a preview of our conversation with Joverine. Ryan and I sat down with Joe this Memorial Day weekend. Joe from New York, and Ryan and myself from my backyard here in Northern Virginia. Joe and I founded District Apple earlier this year as a means to highlight DC DJs outside of the DC area, and we're starting with New York City. Just a good dude, loves house music through and through, and we talked about his experience in DC and in New York, as well as what he's got going on this summer. Thanks again for stopping by. I hope you all enjoy the conversation.
Joe, welcome to the Open Decks podcast, man.
Our guy Joe.
I think Joe has made an appearance in every episode so far.
Yes.
Right? As a figure, right? Like an important figure in this whole thing.
Yeah.
Joe is the glue.
The glue.
We finally got him. We finally got him. Yeah.
Welcome to the official Joe and RPG podcast.
Thanks, brother. How you doing, man?
Good. I'm living the dream, and I mean that quite literally. Get to be on a podcast with my friends and talk about house music. Like, not religious, but if this is what's described as the kingdom of heaven, I mean, this has to be it, right?
Yeah.
I believe it. It's well said.
Well said, my man.
Good for you. Yeah. So you're back and forth so much between DC and New York. This weekend, you're back in New York, right?
That's right.
And next weekend, which will be a few days after this airs, sadly not Ryan, but I'll be up in New York for the second edition of District Apple.
Yeah, and I'm hosting some friends for Project Glow, and I'll be boots on the ground for that.
Gonna miss us.
I am.
Yeah. So I know we got a few things we want to talk about from the note you sent me last night. Just first though, talk about, you and I have District Apple together. We started this thing, but like, just talk about your, like, what's behind it for you? Like what made you decide to go into District Apple and what you plan on doing with it next?
Yeah. Also don't know if I mentioned, really appreciate you guys having me. I'm so pumped.
Of course.
Yeah. We manifested this.
There we go.
Yeah.
So in 2023 and 2024 in DC, I was going out multiple times a week to local house music DJs. I was, inspired musically, but what I was seeing, loved the people in the scene, and it's become really special to me. And, when I've been in New York before I lived here again, after being away for like 9 years, haven't really seen it. And even since moving back here, not seeing what I've loved so much about the DC community, which is, what I'd say is a real commitment to the craft, focusing on helping others.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And just creating environments that are all about the music. What I want to do with District Apple is to, let people know how we've got it going on. Everyone talks about Miami or Vegas or globally, Tulum, Ibiza, but there's something really special in DC, and, big artists know it. Like, big artists are coming to Echo Stage, Soundcheck. There's a Project Glow Festival. New Androids has got an impressive list of international names. On the underground side, fantastic DJs from all around the world are coming to Flash. But I feel like outside of the strict music world, I don't think that many people know what's going on. And so I want to be able to give DC DJs an opportunity to go in other cities, like bring together different house music artists from different cities and provide exposure to the scene. And so just letting people know how awesome that world is, and also just helping artists grow with the opportunities that they have.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when we had like our first conversation about District Apple before it had a name and before we had a first venue. I think I was like in my car, pulled over to the side of the road, and you and I had met each other before, and obviously talked a lot about what music means to us. And it was clear to me from that first conversation, like, we're doing this, you and I, for the right reasons, right? Like, we know so many talented performers, talented producers, and we want to be able to be a part of telling that story. And for me, it's like, it's nice to have someone who kind of sees the music, the opportunity the same way, even though like you dance a lot. I'm not much of a dancer, right? Like, so it's just cool that you and I have this like relationship where we both want the same kind of experience for like the expansion and the introduction of DC. But I think if people saw us side by side, they would be like, these guys have never met. They have nothing in common. But the reality is, like, you and I are simpatico on the music, and that's what matters most to me.
Likewise, my man.
Yeah, you definitely personify, the guy that's in the scene, dances, and that community aspect that you love so much in DC. And I believe that if it's missing in New York, and it's not like nothing like feeling like you're feeding DC more. I like, that's where we met you.
Yeah.
You're now like, you have two homes. So,
and in many ways, I learned it from you guys. So I met you two in 2023. I believe it was, I can't remember if it's Emissary or Commissary.
It was
Emissary. Yeah. Emissary.
The coffee shop, DuPont Circle, mind you. I didn't know anybody there. I just saw an event on my Instagram saying Deep House Friday afternoon, and I got to work at 5 in the neighborhood, and like I went in, everybody introduced themselves to me. Everyone was super nice, and the music was 10 out of 10. It was just such a beautiful experience.
Yeah. Thank you.
And you think it was simple, but finding something like that in other places is rocket science. I'll give you an experience that happened this morning to me. I'm near the Nowadays Club, which has a very high reputation. And to be fair, I went once for a daytime party, and it was a great experience. But one thing they're known for is they're like almost like 24-hour parties. Like, so let's say it starts Saturday night and it goes through Sunday morning. And I think they're doing something special and extending because it's Memorial Day weekend. And I've heard a lot of great things about, hey, you should come, wake up early on Sunday morning, see what's going on, whatever. So I'm at this coffee shop this morning, and to the left of me, there's a group of people. They have like Nowadays wristbands on. And, I was just finishing up my drink, and I was going to head out. I was like, hey, guys, did you just come from there? And they were like so taken aback that, God forbid, I said hello. They like looked me up and down and the most, like, I don't know what it was, but I think it's just like this New York bullshit of like, oh my God, this is a stranger. God forbid they say hello. And everyone lives in their stupid, small little bubbles. And I'm just trying to make a conversation because in DC, if I see someone's coming from Flash, I say, hey, how was the show? It becomes a nice little 5-minute conversation, all smiles. No one expects anything of it.
Yeah.
And it just like it reminded me that I'm not home. There's so many great things happening in New York. There's also so many things and so many like experiences like that where people kind of live in their own little worlds and think they know better. And it reminds me of how I'm actively trying to fight against that, with what I'm trying to do with music.
Yeah, that's a good story. I think like what it says to me is that like everything you said is relatable, and I've had similar experiences. I'm sure Ryan has as well in different places. But what it reminds me is like the work that we're doing is worth the effort because there are people out there who clearly they are at a place that has great music. They clearly have the appetite for it. We've got to find the way to reach them. Right now, I'm not trying to excuse behavior, obviously, but like it reminds me that there's work to do, and to me it's worth doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, just be you.
Yeah.
Authentic Joseph, if anything, sometimes the energy that you bring, it's like you never know who's going to reciprocate that energy. I mean, New York, yeah, there's some grumpy folks out there. I've been through that. But, like just for real, just be authentic, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you also you're not performing yourself. You're going to be on the lineup with Deep Tech DC at TBA on Thursday. So a couple days after this airs. But go back. So when I first met you, you weren't performing, or if you were, you weren't publicly performing or talking about your DJing. But then I remember last year at one of our events, you said, "Hey, I'm getting back into this."
Yeah.
Like, how did that start for you, going from, just enjoying being a consumer of music, enjoying dancing, to I want to get behind the decks and make this happen for me? Like, how did that come about for you?
So a couple of years back, I was, bedroom DJing on and off, and up until winter 2023, I thought I was going that direction, and I DJed like a house party in that winter, like March 2023, and then like just something went down, and like I had to do a hard stop, and it took a couple of months until I started just going out again. And it wasn't like I was looking for anything. It was more like,
Yeah.
I've been away from dance music for a little bit. Let me see what's going on. So I started to go to more local shows. And I just fell in love with it. Again, as I mentioned, like finding beautiful music and amazing people. And I knew in the back of my head that I wanted to DJ eventually, but I kept pushing it back. I felt, okay, I need to get things right with work, need to figure out with like work-life balance. And the reality is I haven't really made much progress in that. Fast forward until August 2024, when I moved back to New York, and I was like, okay, let me see what I can do. And I pulled out my old DDJ 200. So for those of you listening who don't know what that is, it's like the smallest controller imaginable. And my laptop at that point was like 10 years old, like barely functioning. And I plugged everything in. And, once I got it going, I was like, yeah, I'm never letting go.
Yeah.
And like that became since that moment became my singular focus of just like, I gotta make this work for me because it's the best feeling I've ever had in my life, and nothing even comes close.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, your passion shows in so many different ways, and one of the ways is you're like, you must be like Pirate Studios double elite platinum member, because you are prolific in not just showing up at Pirate Studio, but like you're practicing constantly. So like, how do you approach like practicing versus like recording a radio set? Like you just did RedSauceRadio, you've done Eaton Radio, you've done other performances. How do you approach like your practice versus a recorded set or a live set? Or is it just show up, play the music I love, and go from there?
I think there's, especially because I haven't been doing this for long, so I have so much room to grow. Mm-hmm. And I can even see like week by week, like, oh, here's something new that I'm doing that I wasn't doing before, and I still feel like there are things that I can't do. But because I used to watch a lot of football, I also think about it like how like even like the best players like are always looking to try to get better. They're never stopping. And so that's how I think about it. Like, like even if I go really hard one week, that doesn't mean I need to take a break next week. Like there's always something to work on, always new music to find, always like with the music you have, seeing how it, plays around with other music, sensing like different energies, or like, okay, I want more piano, but the same amount of vocals in the next track. Yeah. So just really giving myself the space to like try as many things out as possible.
Yeah.
I say behind the scenes, there's so much room that you're going to grow into. The more you go from year 1, year 2, year 3, I remember we just played around at my spot where we use my Denons.
That's right. You were down here a couple weeks ago in the Techno Tuesday
Yes,
Vault.
the
Yeah,
vaults.
that's right.
Yes, so he discovered a lot of things. So unbeknownst to him, we could use apply streaming, and we we're
Yeah.
just like, let's just go road test every track that we have through genres and folders that Beatport library has. He was like, oh, this is how I just could see you could discover things. Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan has like
That's
the
such a
most extensive library to begin with, and then add on
Yeah.
to that like the streaming Beatport service. And I can't keep up when I'm at the Techno
Yeah.
Tuesday vault. Like I'm lost because Ryan's library is just infinite.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like
Curated new sets.
what a better way to see if you want a track than to like just test it out on your DJ deck and see how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you did tell us about RedSauceRadio. I just saw that last week came out.
Yeah. So talking about people who are in the scene for the right reasons. The RedSauceRadio team, they started in 2017. They would do it's a DJ duo, Browse and Schwenger, and they would do their own sets. But then they started inviting other DJs to do it with them, and so week by week, consistently, year after year, they've been doing this radio stream for the love of music.
Yeah.
And so I met them a little bit around, I'd like to say February of this year. They're close friends with Saeed Yunan.
Mm-hmm.
And I think DJ'd a lot together. And so after we booked him for the first District Apple, got into talking to them a lot about what they're doing, and really appreciate the fact that they allowed me to get a stream together for RedSauceRadio.
Yeah, it was cool because the three of us were at Flash for Seed Union for his birthday party, and they opened. And I admittedly I had heard of RedSauceRadio, but hadn't put two and two together until right after that. And yeah, like you mentioned how it's been a few years, almost 8 years, I guess you said, since they've started this. It's that consistency over time that always like kind of jumps at me. Whether it's performances, whether it's production, whether it's radio, whatever it is, like I truly appreciate, those who have just kept with it and stuck with it and been consistent and been reliable. And, I don't want to say that that's rare, because I think we have to give ourselves and everyone else a shot, but it's 350-ish plus episodes. It's a big number that they have out there on their Red Sauce Radio channel. So when we were texting yesterday, you wanted to talk about your your experience in DC, kind of going out in DC, and obviously one of the big things about this podcast, this conversation, is that we want to talk about some places that are undiscovered, that are hidden gems, or places that are particularly kind of memorable for you, for our guests, whoever. So tell us a little bit about that. I mean, talk about your experience going out in DC and some of the different venues that you've experienced here.
Yeah. What have you stumbled upon, my friend?
Yeah, so I do want to give a shout out to a couple places that are really special that unfortunately no longer with us. The Owl Room, which was on 14th and U, and Gramophone, which was right next to Flash, which are beautiful places. Like Owl Room, remember going to Deep Sugar Party, hosted by Ultra Nate. She had like a wonderful track that exploded in the 90s and has been doing a lot of like deep and soulful house. Since then, I think she's based out of Baltimore. And then, man, Gramophone was amazing.
Yeah.
The owner, Nick, really knew what he was doing in terms of like curating a lineup of, good DJs, deep house, Afro house, Latin house, more on the techno side as well. Like so much cool music happening there. It's a shame that those places are gone. I hope something like that comes back. In terms of what's around, I guess we can talk about Flash a bit later, but a couple of cool things with like Ziva Bar on 14th Street in Columbia Heights. Like you walk in, okay, it's kind of like a hookah bar. When you go upstairs, a lot of times there's like a kind of like an underground house and techno event. A lot of like do-it-yourself parties. You had Deep Tech Collective host events there, Candy Wax. You had Casanovas, who was with you guys the previous week. I think he started a Psytrance event over there. So it was always
What a
fun because
good
it was
dude,
kind
man.
of
Yeah. Sorry.
awesome guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a great dude.
Shout out to Cass.
Yeah.
Casanova.
Casanova.
And Cass.
Yeah.
And Cass, of
Yeah,
course. Yeah.
both are
No,
great.
sorry. Continue, man.
Yes.
Didn't mean to interrupt. But
Like, I feel like that's a cool space. Like, you go there, it's like the music's always going to be good. You know, it's more of a kind of like chill little friend environment. Let's see what else. I mean, El Techa was great. It was really special going, you know, there, like when I was like working full time in DC, going there on like a Friday after work, and they had a lot of awesome house music. And Saturday too, like, you know, restaurant environment, but, you know, I just go in, I would just start dancing in front of DJ. I didn't care. I didn't give a
yeah.
and I felt like it was like, okay, for free, you get to go see DJs that are playing for $30 a night at like Flash or whatever. So, and you get to see them in the daytime. Like, why not do that? Like,
Yeah,
what
rave
better?
on inside in between tables, I guess. Yeah.
No, and that's what I was doing. And like, you know, like the staff there are all really friendly. Got to know them a bit. And the bartenders, very chill. So it was always fun to be able to do that. Feel Lounge, really special place. I know it's still active in some capacity as like a private event space, but it was really cool. It is to the other side of Flash, owned by them, and they kind of created like a down-tempo lounge environment, and got to go there. It was really cool on like a Friday or Saturday night, where 3 places right next to each other, Gramophone, Flash, and Feel Lounge had something going on. So depending on what kind of vibe you're looking for throughout the night, you can kind of alternate.
Yeah.
And so Boris, who works at Flash and also ran Field's, amazing guy, you know, helped to curate a great environment over there. And so there are a lot of new places coming up. I know Rendezvous is coming up. They've hosted a couple of cool things there. And then there's the Hefe place, which is also really new. I haven't gotten a chance to check it out. But they're going to be doing a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. One of the things I miss about, I know you're back and forth a lot, but like one of the things that I miss about having you down here full time is I always looked at anything that showed up on your Instagram stories. It was like instant seal of approval. Like if Joe's there dancing, the music is great. Let's go.
That's how I live vicariously through
totally.
Joseph.
Yeah,
with these clubs.
Yes, same,
You know?
same.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, of course, man. What about, I mean, we can tell me a little bit about New York too. I mean, we can having just talked about the places in DC, talk about some of the ones in New York that are doing that for you.
Yeah, there's like all these things that have changed since I've lived there, but give us a spiel on that.
Yeah, so I just feel like there's a lot of places I haven't been to, right? I haven't been to this Hollow Club that everyone keeps raving about. I haven't been to Superior Ingredients, which is also very popular. I haven't been to Good Room. And Nowadays, which has a very high reputation, I went to One Daytime Party. I wanted to get out of the way first, because I feel like when somebody talks about house and techno in New York, they talk about those places. But I do want to talk about some places that I found were really special. And so the TBA Club has been in New York for a while. I think maybe around 10 years. I could be wrong about that. And fortunately, we're going to close, but it looks like they're staying open. And so what's really special about that place is the music is always good. Tickets are free or cheap. And it's always like a chill environment. Like, it's not overwhelming, not super packed. They don't care what you look like, what you dress like. No VIP table service. It has kind of a grungy environment. You have like a lot of like DJ stickers all over the bathrooms. And like, that's what I love to see. And I have a feeling to an extent it's a place that's getting lost in the shadows a little bit, with like so many other clubs closing and opening. And I feel like maybe it went away from the radar for some people, but I'm obsessed with it because I found it hard to find a place in New York that can do that for you. It's a place that almost guarantees that you're going to have a great time, and it's not a whole thing to just get there
Yeah.
and be there. It's like very, very easy and chill. So definitely one
Bells
of
and
those
whistles
places.
need not apply.
Yeah.
Just the music. Yes.
Yeah. And you're opening up there this week, right? So
Yeah,
congrats, man. That's a good get, especially you know when you get to play for the first time at a place that you've been as a consumer of music and someone who loves it. Like it's a pretty incredible feeling, right? Like
absolutely. And it's just like I've been there over the last couple of years, and I remember going there, and I'm like, man, this is the type of music they play in DC. I love it. And look, and there we go. Thursday, the Deep Tech Collective is coming up to play in New York and bring that sound. And I would argue that's, that minimal groovy sound. Like I would say they had a lot of responsibility for kind of like bringing it out into the fold. And so it's really special for me to be able to see that in the club, and incredibly honored that they've invited me to open up for them. So beyond pumped for that.
yeah, well, I'm bummed that I can't make it up in time to see that one, but I can't imagine it's going to be your last time there. So next time I'm in.
Yeah. I told him that I will extensively figure out when it's not, of course, summer. I want to just frequent as much often as I can and support New York as well. Yeah.
There's so much going on up there. I mean, when we were up there last time, like you can stumble on any number of places, and now that we have Joe's seal of approval on one after another, makes it a little easier. Although it is still fun to find our own like hidden gems, right? But it's nice to have the Sherpa.
The Sherpa.
Right? Helping us out there. So, yeah.
That's high praise.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just so much crap going on. There's like yesterday on Resident Advisor, there were 84 events in New York, apparently. So there's always going to be something new. Like that's why I don't feel in a rush.
Are you okay with that? How
do
you feel about having so much going on at once?
It's a blessing and a curse. Like the blessing is you can always find something to do, but if you kind of feel like you want to get the pulse of the scene and like see where things going, it's kind of harder, right? So like I like listed off those clubs that like I haven't made it out to, and like I feel it's important. I feel a couple things. Like I feel like it's important. Like if you're want to DJ somewhere, you also like you want to show face. Like you want to have some consistency. See like show that you're showing up for the parties. And so I don't want to like run around too much and kind of like, okay, I'm over here and I'm over there, and I kind of like have the couple places I like, and I want to like go out there and support them. And I feel like in DC that's a bit easier because there's just not that many places, and like more folks will tend to gather at one place versus like spread out over a billion places.
Yeah. It's this year in particular, I know I've made more of an effort to show up to other events and to support, not only to support, to experience. I mean, not sound terribly altruistic, like I do go out to enjoy it.
Yeah.
But last year, having worked, DJ 4 nights a week, sometimes 5 nights a week, sometimes 2 or 3 events on one night. Now getting to go out and see what's out there and see what's new, see what's evolved, see see what's kind of like fading away. Like it gives me a much more kind of richer perspective of what the scene is like, as opposed to, hey, I really like music that I'm generally finding on the internet, SoundCloud, Beatport, etc., YouTube, go on, and then playing it. But it's kind of, if as I was doing that, it was kind of felt like in a vacuum because I didn't have that personal connection of going out and enjoying it as much in the way that you did down here in DC and you continue to do in New York. And that's pretty special, man.
It's like it's my thing now. I feel like I haven't gone to Echo Stage lately, and just more frequently going towards not the super clubs that we have here, just in the intimacy of like finding people who love to vibe the right way that I like to.
Yeah, and Echo Stage, I mean, because that place is world class, right? I love Echo Stage. I mean, it's there's international DJs, but each of the times that I've gone has generally been with like, again, people who want to party, and you're introducing them to music, right? You're introducing them to your favorite artists.
Yeah.
And I think there's something cool about that, because we all came about this in our own way too, right? I don't think any of us, I actually don't know. I don't know if any of us were born into a household full of, house musicians, house producers, DJs. I know I wasn't. And Echo Stage for me here was like, that was my entree into electronic music here. Yeah. So world class. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt.
No,
but
no worries.
Like, to me is so top notch.
No, I'll cycle. I go through my cycles. Yeah, for real. Like I'm like, I'm trying to think of like just investing in my investments. My feeling of like the local talent deserves more of my attention at the moment.
Agree, man. Right? I think, I mean, again, we're talking to Joe about the same thing, right? I totally agree.
Yeah.
But so what about, so first of all, any other ones in New York, Manhattan, Brooklyn, otherwise? Yeah, keep going.
Man, so it's ending, but there's this bar, or you call club Lower East Side Manhattan, called Outer Heaven, and the manager, Derek Munoz, runs Sunday night parties, part of his collective soiree. And I think they're doing their closing party for the season. I think they're going to move it somewhere else for the summer. But I've went like 6 or 7 times this year. Amazing. Every Sunday night, consistently good music, like underground artists. He'll get in artists from the country. I've learned so much of my music taste from that place. There's this DJ from Puerto Rico, Ray Calero, who he went over there to perform the same night that Diego Knows performed, a little after that we hosted Diego Knows at our first District Apple. And Ray showed me so much of that kind of Romanian micro house minimal style that I just became obsessed with. And like, had I not gone out on this random Sunday night, I would have never even found out about it. So like, I've never been to Outer Heaven on any other nights, but I always tell people, like, if you want a good party that's free Sunday nights, like really, really good, and in Manhattan, which is hard to find, that's where you got to go.
But you talked about developing, your kind of personal preferences and taste for music. Talk a little bit more about that. Like, tell us about what your preferences are for music now versus what you're experimenting with, if anything.
Yeah, so I live in 2 worlds. One is like soulful house, jazzy house, kind of like more classic deep house. And then the other side is more micro house, minimal techno, deep tech. So on the former, man, that's just like lover music. It's just like hearing good DJ play that, like the hair stands up, in my body. It just like feels so uplifting and positive and awesome. And I'm trying to think about what first interested me about it. I'm blanking on it, but I will just give a shout out to this New York-based DJ, Amir Brooks. He's a young guy. I think he's in his late 20s, but he's been DJing since he was, I think, in high school, if not younger. And the energy he brings is out of this world.
Yeah.
He opens up for like Louis Vega and David Morales, and he's gonna, if he hasn't exploded already, he's gonna explode. Like, he's so good. And on the other side, I'm really a student of the DC scene. So like the deep house that you guys play through RPG, the music that I've learned from the Deep Tech Collective, with Special K, Cassia, on the, Steph, Vinx, just really like the deep, minimal, groovy side really speaks to me, on top of what I mentioned with like, minimal techno, Romanian minimal. Want to give a shout out to Hondro in DC, as well as Vinny, who kind of like helped me kind of explore that more minimal side.
Are you experimenting with anything outside of that right now, even in practice sessions, or are you still kind of happy? I don't want to say comfortable. Are you still kind of happy? Like just
breakfast, lunch, and dinner type of thing, Yeah.
So one really cool thing that I've been incredibly lucky to be a part of is in New York. My friend Chris Lewis, he's been DJing for a very long time. One thing he does is a monthly party series called Glitterati, which focuses on New York City 90s style, disco influenced deep house, which is very, like, I didn't know much about it, but apparently it's like very different than, you know, the harder stuff of like Chicago house.
Yeah.
This has a bit more tribal influence. And so when I DJ as part of that party, like, I have to do a lot of digging to really match that sound, which I still really enjoy, but it's not in my natural kind of focus. So I feel like it's both been an awesome challenge, but also like exposing me to a lot of great music.
Yeah.
Yeah, is it surprising a young man like you doesn't? I'd never think about that tendency that there is still an audience for that younger crowd still into the deeper cuts like that.
Yeah, because we've talked a lot about how BPM rising, right, for a lot of our our younger friends and a new generation, but
just
what Joe's talking about,
adrenaline, up, energy, all that. Yeah.
At the end of the day, the music's good. It's good, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's usually like I'm sure you guys have experienced this. Like, there's music when you hear somebody playing it, you feel like, okay, this is kind of what I play or what I want to play. So you want to like Shazam it or whatever. But then there's like other music that you're like, wow, I'm really enjoying this, but it's different than your, what you want to do, what you want to be involved in. So you can just naturally enjoy it. Like one of our District Apple DJs, Catco. So she was up in New York. She DJ'd as part of the Delirium Studio Support Women DJs Wednesday night radio show. And she played 150 BPM ghetto tech music, which up until recently I wasn't familiar with it, but I was like really vibing with it. Like, it's high BPM, but it's not like aggressive, like hard techno. It like really hits awesome in like a very different way. But I was just there enjoying it, dancing, and I wasn't thinking like, oh, I
it's
need
like
to
workout music in a way.
Like
right?
it was just like a fun thing, and like I didn't have to think about like, oh, I need to get these tracks. Similar also with like UK garage. Like there's so much cool stuff happening there in the US with DJs we're bringing up for District Apple, with what you guys have done, and like I can just enjoy it and not feel like I need to like grab my claws in it and feel like, okay, now that's what I need to be DJing.
Yeah, I'm glad the youth culture is like open to everything, including everything.
He's a grown man.
No, you're a grown man, but you're looking at the baby face on him.
I think that's it's a good point, Joe, because I've experimented playing out a lot more genre that I'm not necessarily as you described, right? Like I hear it and I'm like, oh, that sounds great. Let me try to put together a set and see what I can do real quick. And like, doesn't sound great or as great to me when I'm putting it out there. But when I'm in my element, when I'm playing the stuff that I like, the deep melodic organic stuff, much more comfortable and confident in that. Then you get to a certain BPM, I start getting a heart attack.
Your sensibilities go out the window. Rock and roll, metal. Yeah.
But I hear what you're saying, and that's it's like for me it's hard because I want to be more experimental, but I also want to really focus on the things that I enjoy the most and get better at those genre. And Ryan and I we're doing this today. We had a gig in DC, and or I had it, and Ryan was there helping me out.
I was helping.
But like we kind of share it, and we're playing some stuff that was like, maybe this fits the mood, maybe not. It's great, it's okay. But towards the end, we started playing some of the more melodic stuff. Yeah, and we were both like,
let's tap into it.
Why don't we do this whole time?
Yeah,
right. And I think that's I guess my long-winded kind of point or moral to this is like, it's okay to kind of stick with what's working for you, what you're passionate about, and what you really love, and set experimentation off to the side for a minute.
Your sensibilities and your personality. Yeah. What it can translate to what you play.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're up.
Yeah, good.
They're saying no, like experimenting I think is important, awesome, but I think sometimes there are people who are not experimenting. There are people who are chasing trends, who without learning new music without appreciating it. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, let me do a little bit of Afro House. Now I need to do some techno. But they're not learning. They're not trying new things. They're just trying to be front of center. And I feel like that takes away the noise from people who are really doing the DJ's job and really experimenting with different things and who are willing to take risks versus those who are just like, oh, well, this is hot, so I need to play this
Yeah,
without like any appreciation for like what it's about or where it's coming from or like, you know, that kind of music.
It's an incredibly self-aware observation, right? Like it's sometimes you see it and you when you see it and you hear it and you're like, this isn't, I know what they're going for, but it's not quite right. You know what I'm talking about. You see it, you know, hey, they're trying a new genre or they're experimenting. You're like, you know, maybe spend a little less time on experimenting live and more time experimenting, you know, in the studio if you want to. But I think it's incredibly self-aware to be like, look, I get it. You're chasing something. It's fun. But the reality is it doesn't translate the same way as something that you're really honing your skills and really experienced with.
Yeah. I don't want people to learn the hard way. I want people to, you know, if it's prepped right, introduce it. But if it's not ready, don't play it.
Ryan mentioned prep, and this is always something I like to hear from DJs. Like, what is your preparation like? So, for example, you got TBA coming up. What's the prep like for you?
So I'm opening. So it's going to be low BPM. I'm going to find out exactly, you know, where my, you know, what my ceiling is for that. But I love that I have the flexibility. I love being in the low BPM range. I can do a lot of deep, minimal, kind of like spacey, dubby stuff. And it's just like, I already have a lot of that in my library, but just like keep finding stuff and like keep testing it out in that world. Now, if I was playing peak time, that would be a bigger challenge for me because that's not something I have much experience with. So that would have been a much bigger learning curve for me this time around. So I think it just depends on the set. Really, feel like it's a different process.
When you've got a time slot though, I mean, are you trying to find, you know, the 20-ish tracks that you're going to play over the course of the hour, or are you bringing, you know, many more crates than that and kind of seeing how things flow?
So I organize my playlists by month and then genre. So I'll have I have like 50 tracks in like May 2025 Deep House, 50 tracks in like May 2025 Minimal. And so like when I'm playing, I'm just kind of like going through. Now like for like when I do the Disco House party with Chris Lewis, that's a little different because I have to find tracks that kind of match that specific vibe. So I'll have like maybe a set amount of tracks that I've like organized for that. And then when I can have some creative freedom and bounce around, like, okay, I go to my Soulful House folder, my Deep House folder, but I have like selected a specific playlist that fit exactly what he's looking for that party.
Yeah.
I mean, no, I see you tag your music saying this is build up, this is peak, this is, you know, dinner or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But that's what yours.
Yeah. It's something I'm trying to do a little more of is a little more flow in my preparation as opposed to, you know, hey, I've got 50 new tracks this month that I really want to play out and I've got 90 minutes to do it. Yeah, I mean, Joe, when you're doing it, do you prepare with kind of a like a crescendo and a peak or like a critical moment in your set, or are you just like, hey, let me get through this?
No, and I feel like that's also because I tend to, for whatever I'm doing, I tend to be the opener. So a lot of it is really just setting the vibe.
Yeah.
For what I have to do. I'm trying to think if I've had. Let me talk about Never Looked Better because that was so much fun.
Yeah.
So I was prepared to go in and do again like what I was talking about, like the deep minimal stuff. But I got to the bar about an hour early, and I was just examining, you know, the vibe, like talking to some people, hanging out there. I was like, no, we're gonna switch it up a little bit. I'm gonna start off with some Soulful House. So start with Soulful House, and like the first track in, you know, a gentleman, he's probably in his 60s, walked up to me and he was like asking me like, what's the track ID? And so that made me feel good from the bat. So just to kind of, you know, they were playing like hip hop and pop in that bar before transitioning to our house music night through deep tech. And so I felt that Soulful House was a great way to just kick things off nice and positive. So after a few of those tracks, then I brought it in a bit deeper. And I think that flexibility helped me to have a better set.
It's an incredible skill when you have to turn the room over from like dinner service or pizza and sports bar to house music. Like it takes, I believe it takes a special skill. I think there are people who probably just come in and like cut house music begins, but I think that's impressive that you again like have that awareness to be like, I'm gonna try some of this stuff out and see what happens, and then the people reward you for it because they know you're going about it thoughtfully.
Yeah, it's like welcome to the, I don't know, it's like you're welcome to your moment as a DJ, and you're now out of rookie mode, and then you're like, oh, let me dip into this. It's a little risky, who knows? But given the fact that we've done a lot of bars, we've seen many people in the just sitting at the bar, either not responding, but when there's that one thing that you get rewarded with, there's a person that unbeknownst to you, like, is in, you know, he was into what you're playing.
You know? Had a woman, she came over to us on her way out this afternoon. It was this afternoon, brunch. She was there celebrating her 80th birthday. And she was like, thank you so much. I just want to dance all day, but I'm 80 years old and I've got to go. And I was like, well, I was in the middle of a transition. I was like, happy birthday. That's amazing. Yeah. But also like, Ryan, did you just hear that? That was incredible. It's so cool. It's always those moments where you never expect it that like leave an impression. But
I have that story too. We were doing that Halloween at 12 after 12 in the Blue Room.
Oh yeah.
The gentleman just walked up to me.
Joe
afterwards.
was there.
Joe was there. Yeah. He was like, I know these guys don't appreciate it, but you did so good. You know, I appreciate it, you know?
Yeah. That's awesome, great, man. Yeah. That's awesome. You know, preparation, we all kind of do it differently. And as we're having these conversations through the podcast, we're learning more about how like hyper organized some crates are versus those that are kind of more free flowing, and heard everything from like organized chaos to organized AF. And it's at the end of the day, like I've said before, if it works for you as a performer and you can feel your way through it, I don't need to know, like, I don't need to care how well it is or how well it's organized, because if it sounds good, it sounds good, right? I'm not in this. I'm not a librarian. I just want music to be good.
And I feel like I love having flexibility, because something may sound good, but maybe you're bored, you're tired of playing it, or like something didn't sound good, but like something happens and you're like, aha, this is the moment. This is the moment. This track needs to be played. Yeah. And so like I love making sure that I have the room to make those adjustments if needed.
Yeah. Do you have any kind of get out of jail free in crates?
There used a couple months ago
some ABBA remixes or something like that.
A couple months ago, I didn't. So you know how I described like the two styles I try to play. Yeah. A couple months ago, I was more flexible, and I was just like, you know, let me just kind of like see what the DJ before me, especially when I was doing a lot more open decks. I was like, let me just see what the person before me is doing. Let me see what the person after me wants to do, so that I can keep flexible. And I had a progressive house folder, melodic house, techno, acid, all these folders, and I kept going to this. I call it deep tech, like that folder where it's not exactly tech house. It's more upbeat, more bouncy than deep house. But I felt like that was always like a medium high energy thing, because like even though I would do all kinds of preparations, it's like with these open decks, it felt like I was coming into a situation where I need to be on that medium high energy, or else like it's just going to sound off. And I thought it was important to at least kind of be in that zone. I know it's an open decks and nobody, you know, you can do whatever you want, but I enjoyed the challenge of like, let me just kind of see where the room is at and try to be as fluid as possible, as opposed to do an immediate BPM pick up or drop off or anything like that.
Talk to us about open decks, man. I've over the course of the last couple of years or so, some open decks get some shade for like, being a cash grab from the promoter or the DJ. I have a very different opinion on open decks. And I posted yesterday that there's two things that are being called open decks, and one of them is not open decks, right? Open decks where you have a lineup of people established, set before is, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's not open decks. To me, open decks is there's a list, sign up sheet at the front of the house or at the booth, and when you get there, you sign up and you go, much like an open mic for comedy. But it's getting some shade as like, hey, it's just a cash grab. I disagree.
Yeah,
I think it's incredibly important part of being a performer. But
yeah,
I'm curious what you guys think.
I think bedroom DJs need to graduate somehow.
Sure, but
operate
even as like a more established DJ. Again, I'll use the comic as an analogy where some names from the past, but like Jay Leno, Joe Rogan, Dave Chappelle. These guys go to the Comedy Store. They go to these places at 2:00 in the morning and say, hey, can I get 15 minutes?
Yeah.
No expectation of reward. It's because they're trying to work things out. And so I know there's a long-winded introduction to the topic, but I'm just curious, your thoughts on open decks, your experiences as a open decks performer.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you guys. You want to get better as a DJ. You need to be doing it. I didn't know that you could adjust the side of the jog wheel to speed up or slow down your track. I was practicing every day, doing what I can, and then it took me to go to an open decks.
Yeah.
And then DJ someone be like, hey, you're not beat matching. I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, look. And then showed me that you could adjust, like move the side of the jog wheel. And like it never occurred to me.
What were you doing? Using the pitch to ride up and down?
No, I was pitch, so what I would do is hold down the Q button and then put my hand on top of the jog wheel and try to move it. And then, I don't know, either I thought it sounded right or it didn't.
Yeah.
Or I thought it was close enough, but I really wasn't. But like it took it. I would have never known I was doing anything wrong until I, went to the Connect Tribe open decks and did a, set, and then immediately you realized that I was doing that. Also, I had the lows on both at the same time. The low is going up, I didn't know that, right? Yeah. Like I didn't know because when I was practicing myself, I didn't know that you're supposed to not have that. And so like, I feel like it's integral. Like if you're not playing out, how are you supposed to know? I mean, maybe if you could learn all these things beforehand, but it's such an important part of getting better is to go and play out in front of somebody.
Yeah.
Same thing like open mic for comedy or, music, singing, open mic, poetry, whatever the hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Face your fears, all that anxiety and playing in front of a live audience is totally different,
Yeah. And on your own equipment, when you're in your bedroom or your basement or whatever, and you've got your own controller, becomes very safe. But when you are on club standard, it's different. Right. And, it can be, for me, it was intimidating too, man. Like first time I was playing on CDJs, I was like, I have no idea what this does. And the guy that set me up made a mistake too.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that another time.
Uh-huh.
But even with like, the orientation of the gear, how far it is apart, like your hands, your body starts to move a certain way when you're comfortable with your own gear. And then you get into a place where you've got more space in the booth, right? You've got people around you, whatever it is. So I think open decks gives people an opportunity to not just to practice. I do think it's important as a again, like experimentation to have that opportunity to do it.
Yeah.
And I mean, we haven't done one yet in a little while. We did them last year, but I always liked open decks because it was a good networking opportunity. And yeah, like you said, it's a good opportunity to kind of learn some of the nuances of different gear. So
yeah, there have been DJs. Have you had this? DJs reached out about getting booked, and I've, just chatting with them. I was like, "Have you done any of the open decks?" No.
Yeah.
You can't. Got to do. That blows my mind. You got to do open decks before you expect someone to hire you to perform.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. It's funny seeing some of the comments. There's always trolls out there, but some of the comments are like, open decks is a cash grab. It's like, I guarantee you I've lost more money on open decks than I've ever.
Yeah, it's like, where's the cash? Where's the cash?
Show me where this money's going, right? Yeah. One of the other things that I know you wanted to talk about in our conversation today is the dance music and dancing in general as an important part of mental health. Tell us a little bit about that, and kind of open ended. Just talk to us about your thoughts on experiences with dancing as a component of mental health.
Yeah, I'm by no means an expert, a medical expert, or anything like that, but I'm pretty sure it's non-controversial. Like, there's stats out there, evidence that supports going out dancing is plain out good for your body and good for your mind. I mean, personally, having like a 9 to 5 shit day, and just like, when I was go out, just hear some great music and just move my body, just feels so good.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's probably not too different than going out exercising, or cleaning your home, or like things that are just good things to do. And it's just like, to me, it was like, wow, this is so powerful. Like, I just feel so good doing it. And like, I'm sure I think about, I just wanted to quickly turn this over to like the concept of the Matrix. I think there's so many people who are outside of dance music who have their job and their life, and they do a lot of things because they think, oh, this is what you're supposed to be doing at a certain age, or they're like, I'm out of college, I shouldn't do this, or I'm too old.
Yeah.
And who like have certain preconceived notions of electronic dance music, and who are lacking a hobby or lacking a purpose in their life.
Yeah.
And like, I just want to say, like, we're here for you. Like, test it out. You don't like it, you can leave, but like, just test it out. Like, you don't know how this can transform your life in such a meaningful and positive way, whether it's going out dancing, supporting your friends, like listening to like music that was made with effort, that's not made for likes or clickbait or anything like that. It feels like, to me, it's the most important thing that's ever happened in my life, and the fact that most people have never even given it a chance just like blows my mind.
Yeah, it's one of the probably the least talked about things when we reference the pandemic and the rise of electronic music and DJs. Is like, yeah, there's a lot more DJs now, there's a lot more electronic music, but for a lot of us, it was probably a coping mechanism for that isolation, right? That kind of being stuck indoors. And so if out of that, if an outcome is, yeah, we've got more DJs, like, who cares? Right? Like, we all needed whatever it was in that period in our lives. And if we found it through music, awesome. Right?
Yeah. I like that they somehow pandemic made that the whole feeling like we're stuck in our house. Now we have to pick up a new hobby, and then here we are. Like, the culture worked its way into their bedrooms, or just from watching, everything off of like, I don't know, like their isolation felt a little bit better and less isolated through house music.
Yeah. And look, I got more satisfaction from house music than I did baking bread. Right. That was the bakers that came out of the band.
Yeah. Here's my sourdough. I'll post up on it. Yeah. But Joseph, I think he's purely his spirit on the dance floor. If you ever run into Joseph, it's just you forget about a lot of things.
That's
especially
my happy
when we're community.
Being out, good music, good environment. You can't beat that. I want to talk about Sunday Love.
Talk about Sunday Love.
Yeah.
Which is my favorite party at Flash. So Sunday Love is a daytime party series they've been doing Sundays for at least a few years. There is a wellness session before the party kicks off at 4 p.m. and it's always something different. Whether that's yoga or, coaching on mindful breathing or some sort of music performance. And the music is very therapeutic once it's off. It's like kind of like that deep organic vibes. And like, it's people are out on a Sunday, right? A lot of, people have work on Monday. They're still out in daytime and they're looking for something. They're looking for some sort of like stress relief, or like you've spoken to some people, like the music has done a lot for them. And it's a real special community that, goes out there a lot, and you can just see it. You can see that people are there for the right reasons. They're not there to like post pics on Instagram. They're not there, for something about themselves. They're there to be part of a community, and you can see how it serves a good in people's lives.
Yeah, music does that through so many different channels, so many different avenues, right? Whether it's yoga, wellness, coffee shops, backyards. We've said it time and time again. It just doesn't matter because music transcends, the venue. Music transcends the individual. It's available to us in so many different places, and I think that's pretty special.
I don't know. Like I went to the last one, and I felt like the whole collection of people that go
Last
there.
Sunday Love, right?
The last Sunday Love, lovely people, really, like you said, in for the right reasons. Yeah.
Hey guys, we're just past an hour. So as I start thinking about post-production.
Yeah, we have to consign ourselves to the editing process. Yeah.
We've been recording from my backyard here in Northern Virginia.
This luxurious backyard of yours.
The
Tommy setup.
It looks so beautiful where you guys are right now.
We're going to play some organic house here someday.
It's great. But there's like 100 soccer balls that don't belong to me. Pretty sure there's a fence post knocked down somewhere. There's overgrowth over here.
Yeah.
But we chose the right spot.
We did.
We chose the right spot.
We did.
Beautiful.
Fire pit and everything. I can't wait for that.
Why not? Yeah, we'll do a fireside chat one of these days, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
Joe, aka Joverine, thanks for joining us, man. I really appreciate it.
Such a blessing to be able to be with you guys. Really appreciate y'all.
Yeah, man. Hey, before we sign off though, tell us where we can find you on social media.
Instagram, DJ Joverine. And so the project that you and I are doing for DC to New York District Apple, it's at We the District Apple.
Awesome, man. We'll make sure we get the links in the show notes as always.
Yes. FOMO for me. I'm going to miss out on that New York gig, but
it's not going to be the last one. We're going to do it again.
I know.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Joe, appreciate it, man. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Joe. Love you, brother.
Talk soon, man. See ya.